What up, YouTube? It's your boy Darius. We're about to react to the alt-right playbook, Always a Bigger Fish. I recommend this video by my homeboy David. Shout out to you, David. It's a long video, but so let's not wait any time and let's get to it. That's right, these alt-right motherfuckers. They are worse. They are worst type of politics ever. They always want to say, "Oh, liberals do this, liberals." They want to make liberals a bad name. Why not make conservatives a bad name? I know the majority of the country are fucking conservatives, but I swear, like these alt-right, these conservatives, like they're the reason why this country is not as progressing as we should be. Because they're more conservative than they are liberals, and then the conservative, they want to paint the liberals as bad. They want to paint feminism as bad. They want to paint the critical race theory as bad. They want to paint all these things that normally they're not bad as the worst thing ever. But content warning: racism and fascism.
Say for the sake of argument.
Hold on. I want to say one more thing. If this video ever blow up, I predict that this video will get more dislike than like. Why? Because like I said, they're more conservatives who watch this type of stuff than they are liberals. And if you back to conservatives, like they come in hard. They gonna find a way to dislike you. It's crazy.
This friend. That one friend, you were buddies in high school, but don't really see each other anymore except online. And you used to argue about politics for fun when you were teenagers. Yeah. But as you've gotten older, you've drifted further left, and he's gone sharply right. And your arguments don't feel so frivolous anymore. And maybe you've agreed that it's better for your friendship to stop getting into it with each other. Yeah. But you've just posted on Facebook about how college in America should be free and all student loans forgiven. And your friend I agree with that. A comment he's not supposed to leave, and you're not.
I know what? I had a few friends, not exactly in high school, but in college, who was like that, and we're no longer friends on Facebook. He deleted me off of a friend, and I think that messed up. And it was funny. I also had liberals who deleted me as well. And we're not friends either. So it's like I guess for me, I'm more like, I'm definitely liberal, but it's like, but I don't believe that everything what people were saying, but.
Supposed to respond, but you really want to respond, so after a moment's hesitation, you shoot him a DM. Why do you care how we'd afford free tuition? Wars are a lot more expensive than education, but you never seem to care how we pay for those.
That's true, you're right about that.
You just go into debt and you're fine with it. Anyway, aren't you the party that says deficits don't matter?
Yeah, but you're Democrats. You're not going to run a deficit, you're going to raise taxes, aren't you?
What? Taxes are generally how governments pay for things.
Spoken like a proper socialist.
No,
that's annoying. That's a freaking annoying. Not everything is a freaking socialist. And I think anything that is toward left of these alt-right mother efforts is socialist. And you know what's funny? People say Biden and Kamala Harris are socialists. When we look at both Biden and Kamala policies, they're nowhere near socialism. As a matter of fact, their policies geared towards some more towards the right than it does towards the left. As a matter of fact, in the 90s, I would say their policy will be more Republican, based more on 90s Republican than it would be in socialism. But I digress.
Socialist would call that socialism. Only
you still got 20 minutes to go, so I'm trying not to pause this video so much.
But when we build roads or subsidize corn, well, then you just call it government.
Yep.
Those are things we can't pay for without governments. But we can pay for college ourselves. We've been doing it since forever.
Well, I hate to tell you this, but it's not the 1950s anymore. Time was you didn't need a degree to get a good job.
Yep.
Now you do. And you could pay for college waiting tables, but now you can't.
You can't.
Nowadays, college is a necessity, and people can't afford it.
That is true.
Why do liberals make excuses for people? If you want to go to college and don't have the money, then you study and work hard and get a scholarship. You earn it, instead of complaining until somebody gives it to you.
What? Do you think people aren't doing that?
A lot of people are doing that. A lot of people study, they work hard, like they get scholarships. It's still not enough to pay for college. Know what I'm saying? Like people do everything even the scholarship do pay for their college. And here's the surprising: not every athlete gets scholarship. Believe it or not, I used to believe that. I used to believe like every single athlete get scholarship, and they get free ride to school. But no, like there are athletes who struggle with student loans, just like the rest of us.
There's millions of unclaimed scholarships just lying around waiting for someone to apply for them. There is nowhere near enough financial aid to get everyone to college who needs to go.
Yep. That's not my problem.
Of course it's not.
They can crowdfund or get a loan or whatever. Go on Oprah. The government doesn't owe you an education on my dime.
It's not going to be your dime. You don't make that much.
I hate that argument. Oh, my dime. Oh, my dime. So whether for your dime to go to another BS war or to pay for private prisons, whether to go to education or to healthcare or to infrastructure, let me know.
No one's talking about raising your taxes. If some billionaire you'll never meet gets taxed to put some kid you'll never meet through school, why should you even care?
Exactly.
If somebody robs a bank that isn't my bank, I'm still opposed to robbery. I have a problem with taking money someone earned to give someone a degree they aren't owed.
But here's the thing, though. A lot of billionaires, there are few billionaires who did earn that money. But a lot of billionaires, they let's be honest, they really didn't earn their money. They just... a lot of them, actually inheriting their money. Look at Trump. He actually inherited money from his dad. But I digress.
To poor people, not your problem. But what happens to rich people is. You think you're going to be rich someday?
Oh, please. You're the one who thinks they're going to be rich.
I assure you I do not. But then he says something that blows your mind a little bit. Something that makes you think you've been going about this the wrong way. Something that makes all the seeming contradictions of Republican thought maybe make some kind of sense. He says,
yes, you do. Democrats think they're going to take the money from billionaires and spread it around. Give it to a bunch of poor people so they can go to college, and everyone gets a degree, and everyone gets a good job, and healthcare is free, and minimum wage is $80 an hour, and everyone's saving lots of money. So what then? Everyone's rich. Everyone works in tech, everyone moves to New York and California, and nobody's a billionaire, and nobody's broke, and everyone's great at their job because all they needed was the right opportunity, and no one's better than anyone at anything. It's a fantasy, and we shouldn't have to pay you to LARP it. You think you can make everyone the same, but you can't. There's always a bigger fish.
You say, did you just quote the Phantom fucking Menace at me? And he says,
I guess I did, lol.
And that's as good a time as any to drop it. But the conversation sticks with you. See, when you talk to your conservative friend, you operate as though you have the same base assumptions. Belief in democracy, do unto others, etc., etc. If you didn't believe your friend shared these assumptions, you'd basically be calling him a fascist or a sadist. And you conclude that if you believe in democracy, you must believe in equality. And if you believe in equality, you must believe in equal access to education. And must conclude...
You know what? That's why I don't delete people off of Facebook just based on different opinion. Now, if you delete me, that's on you. That's not on me. But...
that governments should help pay tuition. And so you give your friend the benefit of the doubt that if he doesn't understand this very simple logical progression, he either hasn't had it properly explained to him, or has at some point been lied to. Because no one could believe in all citizens are equal and always a bigger fish at the same time.
That's true.
But by this thinking, you're treating most conservatives as people who want in their hearts to be liberals, but have so far failed. And maybe that's why they think liberals are condescending? What if he doesn't have the same base assumptions as you? Or what if he does, but he has other assumptions you aren't aware of that lead him to different conclusions? Maybe. He is often misinformed, but what if that isn't the problem? What if he actually believes something else? We've been circling around this one for a while. We've talked about what liberals believe, we've talked about what fascists believe, we've talked about what nihilists believe, or rather what they don't believe, or rather why they aren't actually nihilists. But this is a tough one.
They feel 41 minutes long, so I try not to tackle long videos, but... I told Cora Gray it always had to be less than 40 minutes. It had to be less than 20 minutes.
The United States, like much of the Western world, is a capitalist democracy. That's what we're raised in, that's what seems normal to us. And in our normal lives, democracy and capitalism seem to coexist easily. Voting doesn't feel like a violation of capitalism. Buying a bagel doesn't feel like a violation of democracy. But sometimes they come into tension with one another. And speaking really broadly, when a choice between them has to be made, a liberal is someone who tends to think democratically, and a conservative is someone who tends to think like a capitalist. The operative word here is tend. Liberals are still capitalists, and conservatives still stand for democracy, and the preference for one or the other may be very slight. Nevertheless, which way a person leans reveals their priorities. The democratic framework, or at least a democratic framework, is one citizen, one vote. No matter who you are born with certain in- or possibly unalienable rights, and any system that doesn't guarantee you those rights is a tyranny. Freedom, agency,
that's true. And that's a fault for all sides. All sides, like, you know, like people don't think the way we do. They're just bad, evil people. And we need to stop doing that. They're not really bad people. They may be misinformed, but they're not bad people, and they're not stupid either. You know what? I got a lot of conservative motherfuckers telling me that I'm stupid and that I went to UCLA. That's a stupid school. UCLA is one of the top schools of all time. Like it really bothers me when people like these Trumpers, these conservatives, want to make fun of want to question my intellectual. Or were these assholes voted for Trump? Well, for a celebrity who had no political training. But I digress.
Everyone is entitled to these things. It's an egalitarian mindset. People gain power by electoral process, i.e., when it is granted to them by the masses, with whom the true power resides, and whom the Constitution guarantees the right to take that power away from an electee. Rather than powerful, the elected official is, in a sense, an employee with millions of bosses, all of whom have equal authority. Now, this is the idea of democracy, with the history of democracy being riddled with failures to live up to this ideal. But part of the project of liberalism has been about making the government more closely resemble its ideology. The capitalist framework, by contrast, is that of businesses and markets, where big fish eat the little ones. If two people start businesses in the same field and one makes more profit than the other, that person can make more investments, open more locations, undercut their competitors' prices. The more money you have, the more money you can make. So advantage compounds, where even small failures often mean getting muscled out of the field. Now, with some creativity, a novel cost-saving practice, or a new delivery method, the underdog can still thrive. And this is part of what conservatives like about the market, that it demands this creativity in a live ammo environment. But most will not beat the odds. That's how odds work. Since there will always be more failures than successes, the general trajectory of unregulated...
I read somewhere that say, a person can open up, I want to say 7 businesses, and of those 7 businesses, if one business is a successful, then that mean that you're a successful person. So I have correct me if I'm wrong, people. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I have heard of that.
Capitalism is money pooling into fewer and fewer hands. Things naturally sort themselves into a hierarchy with sharks at the top, a million minnows at the bottom. Since we live with both of these frameworks in our minds, and most of the things we do in our day-to-day lives can be justified by either one, we don't often notice the contradictions between them, and it's easy to imagine whichever one tends to be our default is everyone else's default as well. But issues like poverty, taxation, and education are areas where the contradictions matter, and we are sometimes shocked by how different the world looks to our conservative friends. In conservative thinking, this hierarchy is humanity's natural state. The American dream is here, anyone can make it. No matter who you are or what you start with, you can become a billionaire. But a necessary component of this is anyone can, but everyone can't. We're not all going to be billionaires. There's a finite amount of money in this country. For any one person to have so much more than they need, there must, mathematically, be thousands of people with less. Your conservative friend is often baffled as to what you're even trying to say when you point out there's not enough high-paying jobs or affordable health plans for everyone. There's not supposed to be. The system requires an underclass. Someone's got to clean the toilets. Capitalism then is a proving ground. It's how you demonstrate.
You know what? There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with cleaning toilets. There's nothing wrong with picking up trash. There's nothing wrong with like doing plumbing or doing trades. And like if you're talented at doing trades, then by all means do so. You know, like but just like not everyone is gonna go to college. Not everyone gonna do trades. So for those who do want to go to college and do I feel like there should be easy like should be accessible as any other things. And I don't like it when people make fun of others saying, you got a degree in blah 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 in art history and degrees that don't matter. All degrees matter in one sense or another. You know what I'm saying? I know a person like when I was going to UCLA, I know a person who had a art history degree, and he was working for Disney. And when I say working for Disney, I don't mean like working for Disneyland and all that. I mean working for the corporation of Disney. I don't remember exactly what he was doing, but he was like I think he was an intern. You know, might be more, but still he was working for a corporation of Disney. Meanwhile, I know a person who was an engineer. You know, like and he was a great guy too, but he was sleeping in his car. And it's like ask yourself this question: Should a person who work should a person who has an engineer degree should that person be sleeping in a car? No, and that should be the same for a person who the art history major. That person should not be sleeping in a car too. That it should be something. It should be easy as assets for person for each degree, in my opinion.
Where in the hierarchy you deserve to be. Do you have more than you need or less? Anything you've got, you beat someone else to it. How resourceful were you? How well did you play? The field is by no means level, but any disadvantage just means you have to work harder. We know people who start with nothing can win big. If you're a shark, you will make your way to the top because that's where you belong. Anyone complaining about how stacked the deck is against them is making excuses for not being better at the game. So disadvantage itself is not a problem so long as it's quote-unquote natural. What's necessary is that advantage and disadvantage not be imposed from without. Free tuition, a high minimum wage, taxes on the wealthy, or any other kind of government meddling, these things must be opposed, because with them, people would end up in the wrong places. Mm-hmm. Power has to be earned. If it isn't earned, it won't be properly wielded, and then society ends up a mess. Conservatives generally feel what's wrong with the world today can be chalked up to people not being where they should be in the social order. They used to be where they belonged, but then liberals gummed everything up with their government handouts and forced representation. When exactly things were the way they should be is a bit of a moving target. Nowadays, they act like it was the 80s. In the 80s, it was the 50s. And in the 50s, it was sometime before the New Deal.
Ronald Reagan, the most overrated president. I don't care. Ronald Reagan is the most overrated president of all time. He did a few good things, but I feel like, there are a lot of things that he didn't he did wrong. Like the contract situation where he was, the Iran contract situation where he was selling guns to Iran so they could give him money back to people in Central America. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but not only that, he helped his administration were responsible for all the crack epidemic in the 80s, especially in the urban city. But of course, a lot of people are going to say, black people did that. But like Nino Brown said, in New Jack City, ain't no prepared people in the hood own over a poppy field. Ain't no Uzi made in Harlem or in Compton or any place like that. Where are these places coming from? Must be coming from one place.
It's usually
and that's not forget he ignored the AIDS epidemic in the 80s. It wasn't like it didn't bother him until his good friend Rock Cousin was dying from it. And even then Rock Cousin were asking him, hey, we need help. and they still kind of ignore it, but that what brought their attention, if that makes sense.
Years ago, conservatives are distrustful of any effort to make society more equal because deep down they don't believe equal societies are real. Obviously, all citizens created equal needs to be the government's position, because you can't trust the government to know where to put people, so it has to treat everyone the same. But this is a legal fiction, like corporate personhood. It just means the government leaves the market alone, so the hierarchy can reveal itself. You're not supposed to believe in an equal distribution of power. What are you, 7? This is just the way the world is. Look at alpha wolves, silverbacks. Consider the lobster. You are one single individual within a system, and it is your job to rise or fall within it on the sweat of your own back. You don't change the system. Society's problems come from the rules being too weakly enforced. The answer is always more discipline. Your conservative friend thinks you're naive for thinking the system even can be changed, and his is the charitable interpretation. Many conservatives assume liberals, at least the smart liberals, know that the hierarchy is eternal.
The smart liberal, aka Biden or Kamala, or Clinton or Hillary Clinton, the people who really geared towards the right, then they really are to the left. Even though they are Democrats, even though they claim to be liberal, their policies really geared towards the right.
People at the top and people at the bottom. So any claim towards making things equal must be a Trojan horse for something that benefits them. Why would they assume that? Because that's what they do. The real liberal agenda is to put people in the wrong places on purpose. Boost liberal allies, hold back liberal opposition. You don't want to break up the pyramid. You're just trying to sneak someone else to the top. A lot of conservative contradictions start to make sense through this.
I noticed that. That's true. Especially not even the liberal, but the Democrats. They want to push their they want to push the African American on the Hispanics who also not too progressive, but also look at Obama for example. And Obama is my dude and everything, but Obama policies have more in common with Richard Nixon, and we all know Richard Nixon was the conservative hero. But even Obama have said that Richard Nixon's policy was more liberal than his policy were. So they pushed Obama to the top, many because we found this one black guy who not exactly a Republican, but not exactly too progressive. So and it worked, it puts him into the pinnacle, and that's why a lot of black people they complain Obama didn't really do much for the African American community, or even progressive. Progressive feel like Obama didn't do as much for the progressive community as he should. Cause think about it, think of the Wall Street. How many of them were arrested for the for the bailouts?
Of any issue, simply ask, does this distribute power or consolidate it? If power flows up the hierarchy, they're for it. If it flows down, they're against it. How can conservatives say $15 an hour is too much for flipping burgers, but somehow $11.5 million an hour isn't too much to run Amazon? Because if you're flipping burgers, you're a minnow, and you don't need $15 an hour to be a minnow. But sharks, they deserve all they can get because they know what to do with it.
But you know what? That make
to give us Amazon.
Even think about it, if there are minnow, then would $15 make more sense? I guess.
Don't you want Amazon? We keep assuming conservatives defend the rich because they think they'll be rich someday. And sure, they would love to be. But it's more nuanced than that. They defend the rich because they believe the rest of us need the rich. We'd be lost without them. There should be no shame in being beneath the rich, not if the right people are rich. No shame in being a cog in the machine so long as the machine produces something beautiful. There is a real fear that
I have gotten these arguments from conservatives, they say, well, we need the rich. We need these people. We need we need people like Amazon, for us, to get the necessity. And I can understand that, but at the same time though, I feel like Amazon have enough to pay their workers a livable wages. You know what I'm saying? You pay them a livable wages, basically with 401k and health insurance and everything. I still feel that Jeff Bezos will still be one of the richest men in America. But that's just my take.
Keeping us from complete and total, not the fun kind, of anarchy. There is honor in being in your place and doing your best with it. Most especially if your place isn't at the very bottom. The thing about hierarchies is they're self-similar on many scales. If you're in the middle, then you serve the king, Valar Dohaeris. But to everyone beneath you, you are the king. You've got a good job and a good wage. That gives you some power over people who don't. And getting pissed at those above implies that those below have a right to be pissed at you. And there's a real anxiety that liberals want to make room for those people in the middle by putting conservatives at the bottom. And that those people will treat conservatives the way conservatives treated them. Freedom, respect, and empathy are looked on as finite resources in a competitive market, just like jobs and scholarships. Also, most conservatives are white men, and so are most billionaires.
That's true.
So,
I was going to
mention
race too.
They actually have a lot in common, which makes it easy to empathize with billionaires and to feel empowered by seeing people like oneself do so well. And white men at the top influence policy in ways that serve people like them, which materially benefits white men in the middle. The well-being of the white billionaire becomes a metonym
for the... Look at fucking Bon Jovi, man. Look at him, man. That's why I'm not really a fan of his music, because I always feel like his music is really geared towards these common middle American, me being a black guy, from the hood, I really can't relate to his music. I'll still listen to their music, but that's why I don't like music. I don't like Bon Jovi, Journey,
a slight on them
Eagles,
is a slight on all
like
of us.
That, because
white men want to believe that these billionaires earned their station,
I do love
and
the
not
Clash,
that their gender or
Sex
race
Pistols,
got them preferential treatment, because that would imply their own treatment may have also been biased in their favor, and maybe it's not the liberals giving people power they don't deserve.
Maybe.
No matter how much a conservative believes in earning one's place, they have always in the back of their mind an image of what society should look like. And any discrepancy between imagination and observation must mean foul play. This feminist is too respected. This black superhero is too popular. Can't be because they're worthy. Someone must have put their hand on the scales.
Yeah,
someone got a
stupid.
freebie or played the race card.
Yeah, I think that that's another stupid thing that conservatives want to say. What about critical race theory? We got to play the race card. You got tired of playing the fucking race card. We're tired of being dealt with it. We weren't born we didn't ask to be black. We didn't ask to be Hispanic, and women. They didn't ask to be women. Come on, man.
Or fake the scandal. This means even though they claim the hierarchy is natural, what they will or won't accept as legitimate is a gut feeling. If they like what they see, they take credit for it. If they don't, it's the left's fault. And what does it say about them? That they see a bunch of white male sharks and think, yeah, that's authentic. The innate authenticity of wealth and power
that makes sense.
Is the
that makes sense why Trump became president.
Bear with me. You know when they opened the door to Kingdom Hearts, and on the other side there's Mickey with his shirt off, and you're like, why would Mickey with his shirt off be on the other side of that door? And the answer is, I don't know, we'll figure it out in 7 games. Rich people believing it's good for everyone that I'm rich is the starting assumption. That's Mickey with his shirt off. And conservatism is the pile of games where they make up reasons why that might be true after the fact. It's a retcon. This hierarchy is not democratic. It's birth by sleep of fragmentary passage. Savvy viewers may be remembering another political philosophy that is hierarchical, undemocratic, built on nostalgia, and that likes to cloak its policies in progressive camouflage, and that's the one from 2 videos ago. Fascism.
Watch that shit. I want to watch that. I want to watch that.
Now, I am not calling conservatives fascists.
No, conservatives.
There are distinctions.
Yeah.
Under fascism, the hierarchy is much, much less meritocratic, and the nostalgia is much, much older. However, conservative thinking is, at the very least, one that fascism maps more cleanly onto.
And that's why a lot of people say Trumpers geared towards the fascism. That's why a lot of people think that Trump himself is more comparable to Hitler than Obama or even W. Bush. You know what I'm saying? But that's why it bothers me that that conservatives they just they just want to paint the Hitler towards the left, even though Hitler was really like an ultimate alt-right.
Appeal to this hierarchical mindset by portraying all of history as struggles between ethnic groups over who gets to be where. Someone's got to be at the bottom, white man. We'll make sure it isn't you. You'll find throughout history
that's the thing. I think they fear that the white people will go be at the bottom.
All over the political
well, no, that's not the case. Everyone is at the freaking bottom.
Fascism for
like what's the name? George Carlin. Just like you say, is the one it one big party and you're not in it. You're not invited.
When they find purchase in a political party, it's pretty much always the Conservative Party. Look at France, look at Brazil, look at here. Whether you want to interpret that as conservatism being uniquely susceptible to fascists, or diet fascism being another name for conservatism, I leave that up to you. Fascism, and to an extent libertarianism, are roided up extrapolations of the hierarchical mindset, in the same way socialism and anarchy are extrapolations of the egalitarian one. We can see conservatism as a kind of compromise between fascism and democracy, and liberalism as a kind of compromise between capitalism and socialism. They are two different attempts to solve the tensions between these ways of thinking without giving either one up. You could just as easily claim that liberalism is watered-down, ineffectual socialism. A lot of the left would balk at that, but not me, pinko scum that I am. The most important thing to understand is that you cannot communicate with nor anticipate the behaviors of a conservative if you don't understand what they believe, which is hard because they're often in denial. You will never convince them to compromise on any attempt to break up the hierarchy, because even incremental change strikes them as revolutionary, and they feel they've made too many concessions already. You will never get them of their own free will to agree to government regulation, because the government as a democratic institution is inherently unnatural. If you don't like what a business is doing, you don't regulate it, you take your money elsewhere. You should favor the capitalist solution, not the democratic one. Also, when you vote with your dollar, people with more dollars get more votes. They will never be on board with aiding the poor in any systemic way and will instead champion charity and crowdfunding, because minnows getting to eat should always be framed as a gift rather than a right. You may get individual conservatives to come around on some of these, but as a body, they will never consent to any of it unless they can work it to their advantage, or if you have leverage over them. They will sign on when denying progressivism costs them something, because few things terrify them more than slipping down the hierarchy. And what's insidious is that most of us have this thinking ingrained in our own minds as well, myself included. We're all raised in the same culture. This is why they're able to control the conversation, because they can, with some priming, get us thinking in their terms.
Unfortunately, that's true.
Is also
every time I argue with
these
conservative assholes,
it's
they find a way to try to control the conversation. It's annoying because it's like they're wrong, but it's like I don't know how to.
But as long as you're trying to meet this mentality in the middle, you are leaving the door open for fascists. Conservatism is and always will be vulnerable to them. A good defense against fascism is to consciously, intentionally think and act in democratic terms. Because, newsflash, we're not actually lobsters.
Nope.
Neither of these systems is natural. They are choices we can make. I recommend this one because egalitarian thinking is one thing Nazis are bad at infiltrating. If you want to fight fascism, move left.
Yeah, I think every American should be fighting fascism. And I don't like it when people say, "Oh, what about Antifa? What about Antifa?" It's like Antifa were made to fight Nazis. What you want to be pro-Nazi or something? With that being said, thank you guys for watching. What do you guys think of this video? What is your party political line? Are you more liberal or more conservative? I would like to know. Leave a comment down below and subscribe to your boy. Peace, love, and rock and roll.